Okay, good morning. How's everyone? All good? End of the week. End of our week 4. Okay, we have quite a few things to talk about today. In terms of content, we're going to be dealing in our first half with files. Then we're going to jump to some exercises about files, okay? Then we're going to do this quick, I'll call it survey. It's a 4 or 5 minutes thing, which I call stop, start, continue. I'll show you that right before we go to our quiz number 2, which will be done at 12, okay? So at 12, we're going to have 20 minutes to do quiz 2. Quiz 2 has 5 questions, multiple choice, 1 answer only on each one of the questions, okay? Open book, open Google, open Visual Studio, open book, open book I said already, but not open Friends, okay? Okay, great. So, files and streams. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So far, our objects, our pizza objects, our employee objects, the different objects that we have created, once the application is done, the data, the information is gone as well. It's gone. It doesn't stay. But we are used to working with applications that we are able to save the information. We use Microsoft Word. We can type our text. Can you imagine every time you type and you close, it's gone? So how about we start saving the information that we create? How about we start saving that on files? Okay? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. You're going to be saving to files, eventually to the database. Not this course to the database, but future. But here's the thing. Whether it's to the database, whether it's to a file, there is applications for both of them. If you're exporting from one system to another one, you're going to be using a text file most likely. If you are doing machine learning, AI, you're going to be working a lot with text files. And guess what? A lot of the jobs out there will eventually require you to use those kinds of technologies, you know? So this will get you on the right track, let's put it this way. By the way, talking about that, I'm going to send an email to everyone, but just in case I forget, next Wednesday at 4:30, there will be a talk here in Centennial on room A161 about AI, machine learning, just a talk open to faculty and open to students as well. Again, if by any chance you have any interest and you want to drop by, just to see what they are talking about. It's a company that is coming that works with those technologies, and it's a good opportunity to see what is out there and to even, I don't know the format of the presentation, but even to start making connections, making contacts, you know. So again, next Wednesday, 4:30, on room A161. It's on block A, downstairs. It's the room that has circled kind of islands. Okay? So again, I'll try to set a reminder via email, but just in case, you know that. So you just have to show up. Hopefully there will be space for everybody there. Anyway, let's carry on here with our files. So, as I said, this is just the beginning of how we're going to be able to save information to files, to save information. We're going to start on the very basic side of things by storing the information in a plain and simple text file. Okay? And we're going to see how we do that, but I want to quickly jump to demonstration. I don't want to focus too much on a PowerPoint. I want to jump to Visual Studio and demonstrate that to you. But let's cover some of the basics. So again, this PDF is already available there on Centennial. So if you want to check it out, by all means, go for it. I'm going to skip a few slides that I don't find relevant at this point, but the content is covered on chapter 14. We're going to start it today. We're going to continue this topic next class as well. Next class, next week, we're going to continue this, and we're going to be talking about inheritance as well, okay? Okay, so memory. Again, very basic stuff. We have RAM memory, we have permanent memory. This is not new information to you. We're going to be saving in a permanent memory. We're going to be saving text files, okay? Files in general, they have a bunch of attributes. The size, the name, the extension, the date that it was created, the date that it was modified. When we talk about files, we cannot not talk about directories, because directories are the locations, the folders are the locations that those files are stored, okay? So again, there's no way to talk about one and not talk about the other one. Now, I want to spend a little bit of time here. So we're going to start to talk about classes that we have not seen before. We're going to be talking about a class called file, a class called directory, a class called file stream, a class called stream writer, stream reader. All those classes, they are not available to us by default when we open a new console application. We have to do something. We have to do something to make those file-related classes available. And that is, we have to add the namespace to our files. We have to add the namespace called system.io. Guess what I/O means? What is I/O? Input, output. So we're talking about files, okay? File, input, saving data to the file, output, reading data from the file, okay? So we're going to be talking about those kinds of actions. Where do you find namespaces? Well, I'm just going to open here an application, a program. At the very top, you see the namespaces. It says using. There's a keyword called using, and that's used when we want to add a new namespace to our application. Now, what is a namespace? Again, just based on what I briefly mentioned here. It's a way to do what?
Keeping all the related classes together.
I like that definition. I really like that. Yes, it is supposed to help to keep related classes together. It's like, I'm going to open this bucket here and see which classes are there. Now, system.io, I'm going to have in this bucket classes related to dealing with files. Opening files, closing files, creating directories, deleting directories. Let's have a look at this namespace area. You see some namespaces here. They are grayed out, correct? What do you think that it means to be grayed out like this? Like this 4. Sorry?
Is it the same with like the last time? It could be there and it couldn't be there. It doesn't matter.
That's, yes, yeah, so it's kind of that, but there is a little difference there. It's just that by default, when we ask for a new console application, the template comes preloaded with those namespaces. However, we are not using any of those classes yet. So if you are not using any classes that are inside of those buckets, it's graying out just to let you know that, hey, you're not using this. Right now, you are not making any references to any classes from those namespaces. Now, you see system.io is bolded there. The color is strong, which means that I'm using classes in this project from that namespace. I can show you that quickly. I'm using file stream, I'm using stream writer. Both of them, They come from, as you can see, it's very small here, but they both come from system.io, okay? See, both of them come from system.io. So again, that's why you see it in a strong color. Now, could I remove those for this application? I could. But they are doing no harm there. It's just the way Visual Studio tells you that, hey, you're not using them. You may want to have a look at this, okay? And when we create a new project as well, our project comes with a namespace too for the classes that we are creating. The namespace that is automatically created has the same name as the project name. See here? This program class is inside of this namespace. Now, we're not going to be customizing our namespace for now, but just keep in mind that any classes that you come to add to this project, they will also belong, by default, to the same namespace, okay? So if different classes are inside of the namespace, it means that they can see each other, because they are all in the same bucket, okay? If they have different namespaces, and I think that I've seen some exercise of some students, maybe not necessarily this section, but I've seen namespaces being changed, the name changing there. So you have to be careful, because if you change the name and you use the class inside another class, then they will stop seeing each other, okay? So my recommendation is, for now, don't mess around with namespaces. Keep the namespace as the name of the project, and that's it. Leave it there, leave it quiet. As long as they have the same name, they will be able to see each other. Okay? Again, I have Padlet open, so if you have questions, any questions so far? Maybe about I/O or about namespace? Have a question?
So you have deleted I/O. So
I have deleted.
So it is not visible
There. I just scroll. Oh, I did by accident. No, this is the other class. This is the employee. Program is still there, okay? So namespaces are added class by class, file by file. Okay, so I'm just going to briefly mention about a few classes that you're going to come across. I'm not going to go deeply into them right now. I want to, as I said, I want to quickly move to demonstration here. So the first one that I just want to bring to your attention is the file class. File class is, again, inside of this system.io. We have a bunch of methods that we can call from this file class. Create, delete, exist. Exist is a Boolean. Maybe before you are dealing with a file, you check if the file exists or not. If the file exists, great. You can read from it. If the file doesn't, you can give a message. I'm going to zoom in on this. Look, very simple program. We have the using system.io at the top. Now, the application is just asking you to enter the file name. And then we check if file exists, do something, get more information about the file. Otherwise, show a message that the file does not exist. Let me ask you a question. What is file here? Is file a class, not an object, correct? So we have this exists method here. Based on what you just told me, exists is a static or non-static method? Static, because we're calling it from the class. If it was an object, it would be a non-static method. So, see, that's where you're going to see those kinds of things that we have seen before. Static, non-static, live in action here, okay? Being used by classes that are provided by the platform, okay? I see a question there. Okay, so generally when we write a file name, we put a space into it. Can we access these kinds of files? We put a space into it. Yes, you can. Now, to be quite honest, you have to be mindful when you are using space in names of files to make sure that you're not going to get a problem with that. I would recommend not to put in spaces in our system files. But yes, you can. There's no problem. I mean, can you access those kinds of files? Yes, you can. And you're gonna see how we're gonna get to the file name in a second. Then, as I said, you cannot mention about files without talking about directories. Okay, so we have a directory class that has a bunch of methods, a bunch of properties here as well. You can create a directory, you can delete, you can check if the directory exists or not. You can even get an array of files that are located inside the directory. Okay? You can move directories, you can move, can get information about the directory. Again, this is all in the PDF there. Okay, I'm not going to go through those examples. I'm not going to focus on that. Okay, so I would like to jump quickly here, and I'll skip a bunch of slides, and we're going to revisit them, a few of them, as we go through. But I want to jump to this. Yes, this. So, my goal is to go step by step on this code with you. I'm going to simplify this code a little bit because what this code is doing is it's creating a class, an object called employee. It's asking for the employee number, employee name, employee salary. It's going to save that information in a text file at the end. But because it's in a loop, it will keep asking for the next employee, so it will save multiple employees. We're going to start with one employee. Okay, let's start with one, then we can think about storing more than one. Okay? So, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open Visual Studio. I have this as a reference point because I'll be copying some code from here just for the sake of timing. I'm going to open a second instance here, Visual Studio. And I'm going to create a new project here. So I'm going to go to File, New Project. It's a console app. And then the name of my project is write sequential file. Okay? Just want to recap this in case it's not top of mind. Just have a look here. In assignment 1, I asked to create one solution with 3 projects. A lot of people did things slightly different way. So when you are creating a new project, you put the project name here, and you have the option to change the solution name. So again, Visual Studio, one solution can have multiple projects, okay? See, as I change the name of the project, the solution changes as well, you see? But I can go to the solution name, and I can say, and I can rename it. So I can put a name to the solution, and I can put a different name to the project. By default, it's coming as the same one, but you can change that, okay? Does that make sense? Yep. I'm going to keep the same because I will not have more than one project in this solution. I'm just going to keep the same there. Okay. So here's our bare bones console app. We're going to create our class, our employee class, with 3 properties: employee number, name, and salary. The first thing that I do to create a new class, what should I do here? Anyone? New class? What do I do? I can go to the project, I can right click, and I can say add, and I can go straight to class, or I can go to new item, but I'm going to go straight to class, and then I'm going to say employee. Okay, so again, just 3 simple properties with 3 fields as well. I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna copy the ones here. As I said, just 3 fields, 3 private fields, employee number, name, and salary, and we have the respective properties. No big deal here, no constructors, no methods, just straightforward fields and properties. So I'm gonna select this. I'm gonna copy, I'm gonna paste the code if you are following along so you can keep going as well. I'm gonna paste the code here on Padlet. So again, simple class, 3 fields, 3 properties. Now, what I'm going to do in the main application, I'm going to ask the user to enter the employee number, employee name, and employee salary. Okay, so I'm going to use here. I'm going to say console.write. I'm going to say enter employee number. Now, I'm going to set the employee number. Actually, which commands should I use to get this information? Now, what's the line that I can get the user inputs? Console.reads. That's the read line. But we're going to assign that. We're going to assign that to the employee number. Okay? But before doing this, how about we declare an employee class? Sorry, we declare an employee object. Okay? So I'm going to say employee, my employee. Again, a quick note, pay attention to the way you are naming methods, the name you are naming local variables. Use the correct casing, okay? Just as a note, not taking a lot of points out, but I'm taking some points from the assignments if you're not following those guidelines, okay? So how I create this employee? What should I do now? New employee. And what is this? This is the constructor, not any constructor, but the default constructor. Okay? Comes by default with any new class that you create. So I'm going to use my employee, and I'm going to say my employee dot employee number equals to this. But what should I do now? Employee number is an integer, okay? So I have to do what here? I have to convert, né? So I'm gonna do, again, different ways to convert this. I can do int.parse. Okay, so I'm reading the first one, and I'm going to repeat the same process 2 more times to ask for the employee name and the employee salary. Employee name is a string, so I don't have to convert anything. And then I have salary here. Salary is a Boolean, so I'm going to use Boolean instead of, not Boolean, sorry. It's a double. So I'm going to use double here instead. And now I'm creating one object. I'm asking the 3 questions. And now I'm ready to save this. Okay? So, to be able to save this information to a file, to a text file, we're going to be using two classes. We're going to be using a class called file stream that points to the file, and a class that's called stream writer, which allows us to write information, to write text to this file. So one is a pointer to the file, the other one is a way to communicate with the file. Two classes, okay? So for each class, you're going to have a new object. So let's start with the file stream. So I'm going to say file stream. Okay, so right away it says file stream does not exist in the current context. What am I missing? The namespace. So I'm going to go up, and I can add as a second line, as the last line. It doesn't matter too much where you add it, as long as you add it. So I'm going to say using system.io. Now here's the thing. We just had to add the namespace here. Very simple. However, there are some namespaces that are not available right like this when we want to add them. We're not going to be seeing an example of that right away, but some namespaces, first we have to add a reference to a new library. Then we can do the using. Again, you're going to see this more when we are dealing, next class, when we are dealing with JSON. Who knows what JSON is? It's not the name of a person, okay? What is JSON?
It's a JavaScript object notation. Kind of, I used to pass the data between the APIs.
Yeah, so JSON is a text format that structures data. So I would say that it's the next level after we deal a little bit with text files, plain and simple like what we're going to do today. We're going to deal with JSON. JSON, super important out there, not only to write files, but to communicate across different systems, okay? Very, very, very important. Okay, so we add the namespace. Now it should be good to say file stream. I'm going to give it a name. Out file, output file, okay? And then I'm going to say new file stream. Now, file stream has quite a few different constructors. Look at this. It has 15 different constructors. We're going to be using one, which has 3 parameters. We have to say the file name. We have to say what you're going to do with that file, and what type of access we need from that file. Do we need write access? Do we need read access? Do we need both of them? So let's do this. So first parameter, I'm going to put the file name. And I'm just going to hard code that. I'm going to just put it here. So I'm going to say employee info.txt. Okay? Next, I'm going to say what is the file mode. You're going to see quite a few different file modes there. The one that we're going to be using right now is create, because the file is not there. A bit later, I'll show you what's the meaning of the other ones. But we're going to be using create for now. And then there's another parameter here that we're going to call file access. And then basically we have read and write, and write. You should always use the option that is the minimum necessary for what you're trying to do. Right now, we are just trying to write the information. So I just need write. I'm just going to put write there. I need to open the file with write access. Okay, so again, we are using a constructor with 3 parameters. Let's have a look at this file mode here. Just for a second. Look, we have a bunch of options there. Who can tell me what file mode is? What is the type of file mode? It's an example of what?
Open
Open read.
enum. Enum, enumeration. So file mode is an enumeration. We have not created, but it's provided to us by the framework, by the language. Okay? So it is an enum. And here are the options. Instead of being order status, shipped, whatever it is there, we have append, create new, open. Again, a simple enum. Yes.
So since it's the enum, can we just call the number?
Well, if you put a number, you have to cast to the file mode, because it's expecting a file mode. Let's give it a try here. Maybe it will. See, it's complaining already. So you'd have to cast that. But again, there's no point of casting really right now, because we can just call file mode. Now, again, the benefit of enums is not doing this, not putting a number. So it's the whole point. The entire point of enums is to avoid putting a number. Because then, when we do this, you can just read. You don't see number 2 there or number 3 there. And you say, 3, what does 3 mean? Oh, 3 is create. No, you just read. File mode is create. The second one, you just read file access. It's right. You read the code and it's clear right away. So instead of using numbers, we use that to make things clear. Make sense? Again, file access is another enum. We have read and write. Again, just to make sure that you understand that what comes before, we build upon each piece of information and knowledge that we keep gathering, okay? Okay, great. So now we have the file, but now we need a way to write to the file, okay? And for that, we use another class. We're going to use a stream writer. Because we're writing information to that class, I'm going to call this object here. I'm just going to call it stream writer with lowercase s. And this is equals to new stream writer. We're going to use the constructor that has one parameter. And the parameter is the name of the file stream. So I'm going to say stream writer connect to this file stream. So again, first we got the link to the file, then we got a way to write to the file. If we are reading from the file, we would be using a stream reader instead. Okay? Now, very simple. We're gonna do something with this stream writer. Let me ask you this. When you want to write something to the console, what is the method that you use? When you want to write something to the console? Write line. We can use write line, so it writes one line and it skips the line. So we're going to be using something similar here. With stream writer, we're going to use write line. And then, as a parameter, we're going to say, what is the string that I want to write there? And I'll put it there. Now, the way that we're going to format our data in a text file, we have to have a way to separate what is the employee number, what is the name, what is the salary. So we're going to do this by using anyone, which character I could use to separate them out in a text file. Which one? Slash? Slash D, what is the slash D? Tab. Okay, could be tab. Let's use something that is more visible, that we can open and you can actually see the character there. Tab is a possibility. Let's use a comma for now. Okay? There are problems if we use commas, but for now, let's just use that. In our case, it will be okay. But tabs would be even more efficient, I tend to think. But let's use comma, because comma, we can open the file and visualize that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put employee number, comma, employee name, comma, employee salary. Have a question? No? Okay, so let's use the string interpolation here, and let's do this. So we have employee number, and then comma, and then employee name, comma, and then salary. Okay, so this is the information that we're going to save. That's it. Our information will be saved there. But before we can say goodbye to this code, we have to do something else here. One last step here. Let me ask this. Who has seen, by maybe using Word or any other application, a message that reads something like this? Another application is locking a file, or this file is already opened by another application. Have you ever seen something like this before? Usually that happens because the application that was opening that file maybe have crashed and left that file open to the operating system. So the file is still flagged as, hey, I'm open, and when you open it again, it gives you that warning. For that reason, we have to make sure that we close the file before we say goodbye to our codes, okay? So we have to close both things. We have to close the file and the stream as well. We're going to close the stream first, then we're going to close the file. That's the last two steps before, again, we are done with the codes. So I'm going to say stream writer dot close and out file dot close. And with that, we are ready to give it a try. Where? Let's look at that in a second. Let's have a look at that in a second. Let's give this a try. I'm just going to go Control F5. Okay, so let's say 10, John, and 20. Okay. Now what? Where's the file? Any guesses? Anyone? Folder in solution. Almost that. Almost that. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the folder. So if I go to the project, if I right-click the project, I can go at the very bottom. It says Open Folder in File Explorer. So it will open Windows Explorer with that folder, showing that folder. So here's a folder, the project folder. The file is not there because the file is on bin and debug. So our application is right here, our .exe, write sequential file. And then because we have not specified the path to this file, look at this. We could have said here, C, column, / we could put the path for the file. However, my recommendation, if you are doing an exercise, an assignment, the test, don't put the entire path, because if I try to run your code, I don't have your path in my environment. So I'm going to get an error. So leave the file in the same folder as the application, just to make things easier. But keep in mind that you can do something like this. You can say C, you can put the path. Now, to put in the entire path in a string like that, you have to use / when you are separating the folder's names, or the other option is to use @ character at the beginning, and then it's okay to use one single @ means literal. So / is usually used for special characters. So either this way or this way. But again, don't use that. Let's just keep it like this. So the file, again, the file will be on the project folder under bin, under debug. Okay? Now let's open the file. Here we have the information. But what if, okay, someone is asking what is the $sign in the right line, okay? So let's have a look there. So who can tell me what is the $sign? Yep.
Doesn't it allow the right line to you can add like variables?
Yeah, you can have variables inside the string. This is called a very complicated name. I always have to stop and think about what's the name. It's a string. Anyone? Anyone? A string? Interpolation. Doesn't come easy. Interpolation. Okay, so that's it. We use this so we can do something like this inside a string. We can put curly braces. Yep.
Just for curiosity's sake, why is it called that?
Why?
Why is it called string interpolation?
I have no idea. So I just, well, we can try to look out what is interpolation. Well, I think that interpolation is mixing two different things.
Yeah, because isn't it like going like you have 0 and you have 1, and then like it's the 1 in between the 0 and 1, like parsing through it.
Okay.
So
Again, I don't know why the name. I really don't. We can Google that.
In some other places they call it string parser.
String parser? Okay. Okay. Okay, so that's it. So what else? Okay, so my question is, what if I run this application again? What will happen with the file? It's going to overwrite. Let's give it a try here. So let's say 20, say Ederson here, let's say 10,000. Okay, so let's have a look at the file. If we open the file, here's the new information. Now you may ask, but Ederson, what if I want to, just to keep adding? I don't want to get rid of the one that is there. Well, here is the solution for that. If you have a look at the file mode, we are using create. Create, look at this. Creates a new file. If the file already exists, it is overwritten. Find the right one that will allow you to open and append. I mean, you have append, you have the description of each one of here. So again, just find the one that is more suitable. Append will be one. Okay, if opens the file if exists and seeks in the file. Append, you just have to see if append will work if the file doesn't exist at all. Maybe it won't, maybe it will. But again, you have just to be mindful of which one you're going to use for the right situation. But again, each one is here. The description is there. You can use the one that is most suitable to the situation that you are facing. Okay? The one, open or creates, opens and exists. If the file does not exist, it's created. The only thing that this does not do is it doesn't go to the very end, like the append. So you may have to take care of that, because otherwise it may overwrite anyway, because it's open, but it's at the very top. So when you write, it's not replacing the file, but it's gonna replace most likely the first line that you have there. Okay? So append will go to because when you open a file, it has a cursor that goes inside of that file. So open or create may put the cursor at the very beginning. Append will put at the end, so you can keep writing.
So append is better.
Yeah, but I think that append will require the file to be there to be used. Again, I don't recall, to be quite honest. So you can experiment. Go and give it a try. Okay. Questions? Any question?
So this codes opening just one text file.
Mm-hmm.
If we have multiple inputs there,
If you have multiple files?
multiple inputs at once, I don't.
What do you mean by inputs?
Yeah, multiple.
What do you mean by inputs?
I mean, maybe same kind, but several same things. I mean, several inputs.
7 employees.
Yeah.
7 employees. So what you could do
several, you know, maybe 10 employee, 10 salary. 10
That's fine. So you could be in a loop,
Yeah.
and then see, when we call write line, it writes the line, and if you call it again, it will write another line. So it will keep writing the lines. So again, you can have this inside the loop and keep asking for the next employee and just write it again and write it again. Because when you call it, it writes the line and it jumps the cursor to the very end. So the next time you call it again, it will write a new line, in a new line, in a new line. So you can accumulate the data there. Okay? We're gonna work on that in the next class. What we're gonna do now, again, any questions? Okay, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna start an exercise. I'm just gonna explain. If you want to take 5 minutes break, that's fine, but let me explain first, then we go for it, and you can take your break. The exercise is a repeat of what I just did, with a different class, with a different, different class and different questions, okay? Let's go to Centennial here. Let's go to content, week 4, under programming exercise 04. You're gonna see a class and a few questions. Only focus on for the first page. The next pages, you are not ready yet for that. So again, focus on exercise 1, 1A, 1B, and 1C. The first page only. Give it a try. As usual, I'll be walking around. I'll be assisting you. Now, if you want to, again, take 5 minutes, have a break, and come back, do the exercise, and we move on, okay?
Biz oraya geliriz de bırakın dersiniz sonra. Şimdi geldik ya. Siz kaçarsınız.
Question about the
Yep.
assignments.
Yep.
I take a look at the requirements.
Yep.
It seems like they're gonna create one project file. I mean one
One
program.
solution?
Yeah, one solution. Now, how do we cooperate with others?
Oh, you mean assignment 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. You mean how do you divide tasks? How do you...
Yeah.
What's...
I'm not really clear how we should like club like to create one?
Well, maybe it's the case that that you break it down into, you do this little piece here,
Like
you do this
each
little
class
piece.
or-
Yeah, you do each class, or you do those classes, you do those methods, you do this, and then someone, what I would recommend is someone becomes the gatherer. And I get this from you, I get this from you, I put in one single project, and everything works beautifully. Just a suggestion.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. What's that?
Can you post the codes?
Oh, yes, I'll do that. What's up?
I speak in Portuguese because I have a very particular subject.
Okay.
Então eu entrei no grupo errado.
Não.
Tem como tu me tirar?
Yeah.
Com vergonha.
No problem. No problem. That's okay. Okay. Groups. Qual é que tu entrou?
Esse daqui não sei como que os meus amigos estão com isso.
Ok, so. Você entrou nele ou você vai entrar nele?
Não entrei. Eu não entrei não.
Não.
Tenho certeza. Não tem ontem.
Só se eu tô olhando no class. Okay, one second. I think I'm looking at the wrong
Ah,
thing
eu
here.
sei.
Yeah, that's it. Foi no 3 que você falou? 2? Okay. So, done. And then you can join the other one. Okay, no problem. Okay, I'm going to take a quick attendance. Ahmad, Amanpreet, Anu, Brandon, yep. Kai Zhang, Danny Fu, Fabio, Jaden, J Dave, yes, break, okay. Jang Zhou, John Aveniro, Luana, Lufu Liao, Manpreet, okay. Marvin, Mehmet, Mukahit, Raul, Ravi, he is outside. Okay. Ricky, Ritesh, Salih, Sampath, Sanshit, Smurith, Steven, Theory, Tomoki, Vin, Wahida, Yenyu, Eugene, Youngsik, Zangir. If I did not call your name, let me know. Okay, I put yours. Yeah.
From T.
From T? Okay. Take. Oh, I think I skipped. Sorry about that. I took attendance, so may come. What's last name again? Last name? Gupta. Okay. Okay. Gupta. Okay. And your last name?
Wagela.
Okay.
Before me is
I got yours because I just sorted by last name. Oh, by here. Okay, got it. Perfect. Yep.
thank you.
So, I got yours. Yep, I got your name.
Thanks.
No problem. Yes.
I have a doubt.
Yep.
So I know you explained what properties are, but when you say create a new static property, that means I have to create a variable.
Yeah.
And
So
then-
you have to create two things. One is the private field, which will be static as well. Then a public static property.
Public static int number, then we have to set get and set.
Yes. Yes. Correct. Okay.
The other doubt I have here. No, that I.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No problem.
Is this correct for a two-string?
Yep. Should be okay. Should be fine. Yep. So,
So actually, I was having some basic doubt. Like in Java, when you run the Java code, it gets into dot class file.
it gets to
Dot class file.
dot class file. Okay.
And then it runs.
Okay.
The same goes here. When we run the code,
Yep.
it gets into .exe file.
Yes, for a console application.
Yeah.
There are other types of files as well, like a .dll, which becomes a library
Yeah.
that you can use inside other applications. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, that's
Yeah,
the
but,
.exe.
In Java, we can decode that dot class file. Like
Yep.
we can see. Can we do the same here?
I think that there are reverse engineering tools that will do that, but it's not.
We are having that extension in this tool.
I don't think
Visual
so.
Studio?
No, I don't think so. Nope, I don't think it's. You have to find specialty
tool
tools
for
to
reverse
reverse engineer. Yeah, it's not. Otherwise, you could do that with any application. I mean, with a Microsoft Word, you could do, because they are all those applications. They are all .exe files.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, sir.
Yep.
When are you gonna post the programming 3
Eh,
exercise?
tomorrow, because I'm still having one more class today, with that needs that. So I let the week finish so I can post to everybody, not only this section. Okay. What's up?
So what is this constructor doing?
Actually, it's not asking for anything in particular. You don't. You have the option to initialize your properties. You can do that, but it's not. It's just asking you to create it, but it's not defining exactly what you need to do inside. You can leave it empty, or you can do something there. It's really up to you.
Okay, so I can just don't do anything with that. So that's fine. I thought this you need to create it to calculating the total price.
Not really. You can find other ways to do that. Not in the constructor, because when you call constructor, what are the values of what is the quantity when you call a constructor?
What is the quantity?
Yeah, what is the quantity? What is the price? When you call the constructor, again, at that moment in time, what is the price? What is the quantity? When you call the constructor?
It's gonna set to whatever we're defining in the view, right? Is it? No.
Yeah, but when you are calling the constructor, nothing is defined yet.
Yeah. No.
So if you calculate the total price there, what is the quantity again?
It's whatever you input there, right?
Not when you call the constructor. At the moment, I'm asking, at the moment that you call the constructor, what is the quantity?
The moment you call it 0.
Yeah,
0.
0. What is the price?
0, 2.
0. So if you try to calculate the total, what will be the total?
0.
We need to assign the value to the constructor first.
No. Afterwards, you assign the value. But the calculation is not done in the constructor. The calculation is not done in the constructor. Wow.
So what is the reason we're creating this constructor? Oh, it's just to creating an object?
We are just creating the default constructor without, we can set some values there to initialize, or, again, the question is open for you to decide what to do. It's not requiring you to do anything aside from defining it. But it's not asking you to do anything in particular there. Now, you're going to have to find a way to calculate the total based on the quantity and the unit price. You have to think a little bit about that. Where can you calculate that? Or better yet, not so much where, but when. When do you need to calculate the total price?
After the people input all of the things.
Great. So when does that happen in your code? Look at your class. what
After
indicates...
the write line, after we write, let's the user input.
Yeah, but you are talking about the program there. Look inside your class and tell me, when you set a value to quantity, in your class, what runs in your class? Which line of, when you set the quantity to 10, what is the line of code in your class that runs? When I said, no, order.quantity equals to 10. Tell me in your class what runs. Which line is running there when I'm setting the value to 10? Well, I'm going to leave you with the question and you're going to think about it.
Professor, when we write a static constructor, we are not supposed to give an access modifier.
With a static constructor.
When it says error.
Okay, can you go back to the exercise to show me what is it asking? Create a static constructor to set, go back there. Move the mouse over the constructor. What does it say? Let's see, access modifiers are not allowed. Okay, so yeah, I guess that let's just remove it.
Also, Professor, can a static field be private?
Yeah. So
Then how do we access it
well,
outside the class?
again, it can. So if a static, you mean field or property?
Field.
Actually, all fields should be private. All fields should be private, and you can make them available via properties. Okay. So again, formulate your question again.
So then can properties be static and private?
Yeah, but again, you have to see what's the goal that you're trying to achieve. Technically, they can, but are they achieving any goal? Yes.
Having them there.
Yeah. Okay. What's up? What's that?
So these are the access modifiers which are specified over there. So if asked in any case, we have to specify these or just public private protected, maybe internal.
Okay, so you were talking about
Access modifier.
yeah, access modifier, but again, different. It depends on the context. Are we talking about classes? Are we talking about methods? Because, for instance, on
I know classes will have internal, and fields in the classes will have public.
fields, methods, properties that can be private, public, protected. Private, public, and protected are the main ones that we're going to be talking about. In terms of classes, we're going to be mostly talking about internal
No access file. If no access
modifier. Modifier is
specified for the class, then it is internal.
yes, it's the most restricted one.
Yeah. But for the class fields,
Yes.
it will be public if no access specified.
No, it will be always. The general rule is this: it's always the default is always the most restricted one. Internal is for class. Internal is not for.
Then for fields, it will be private.
Yes, for fields, for methods, for properties.
No access specified.
If for constructions, yes, correct.
Okay, I got it.
Got it?
If asked in the class, so protected internal. how will this be used?
Let's see here. Access is limited to the current assembly or types derived from. Yeah, so I think that.
I just had a thought and then I opened Microsoft and started searching.
Yeah. So it's kind of a combination. Protect internal is for classes actually. This is actual current assembly, or
Will that not come in?
yeah, we're not be talking about these two those combined ones. We're gonna be really focus on the
first three and
yes, yes.
Okay, this
Okay.
the normal thought came in and I started
Got it.
searching.
No problem. No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna be wrapping up in a few minutes. Okay, in about 6 minutes, we're gonna wrap things up so we can move on to a few other things before we do our quiz. Okay.
this is inaccessible due to its protection level.
Okay,
But like
so let's go there.
The class public.
Yeah, but it's talking about the constructor. The complaint is about the constructor. Or see,
Oh, yeah.
because you
didn't
did
put
not, it means that it's what right now?
It's private.
Yes. So you need to put public there.
Okay.
Just doing that will solve. Okay.
And also, I'm not still clear about like if I leave it as like blank,
That's fine. That's okay.
it's still like
It's still gonna create. Still gonna create. Yes.
it's gonna set the value from the input to this.
Set. Yeah, and everything will work.
Okay.
Everything will
without
work.
the okay.
So I'm just asking that you create. So you show me that you know how to create. But again, I'm not asking anything specific that you should do inside of it. Even
Yeah,
if it's
because I
blank.
didn't see any
Yeah,
requirements as
exactly, exactly. So just doing that, put the public there, and you'll be fine.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so some of you, again, may have been able to do it. Some of you may be a bit stuck. That's fine. I'll provide the answer, the step-by-step on how to get this done. And again, use that as a reference point. Get it going. I'll provide a video as well explaining step-by-step too. All of this exercise and the one from yesterday will be provided tomorrow, okay? So bonus 4 is open. It's available under week 4. Okay, it's the same format. You have the episodes for the podcast, and you have a video to watch about inheritance. So next week we're going to be talking about inheritance. So again, the video is about that. In terms of assignment 2, you know that already. Form the groups. If you have any problems, let me know. Before we get to the quiz, I would like to ask you to do one thing here. As we are in our week 4, 4 weeks, you know kind of how I do things. And this is a good time to ask, how are we doing? So I'm going to ask you 3 questions. It's anonymous. You're going to just fill out this form online that I'm going to share the link in a second. I'm going to ask you to tell me what I should stop doing, what I should start doing, and what I should continue doing. Now, it does not mean that I'm going to do what you are asking there, but I'm going to listen to it, and if I hear the same theme over and over again, hey, I have to do something about that, okay? So I'm going to share next week the results of what I gather, but again, that's an opportunity for us to adjust before we are too far in the course. We still have 10 weeks to go. So again, tell me if I need to adjust anything, and I'll take that into account and into consideration. Here is the link. I'll post that on Padlet under Stop, Start, and Continue. If we open there, you're going to see the 3 questions. Again, it's anonymous, so you can put whatever you want there. Stop, start, and continue. Again, very straightforward. Tell me what I should stop doing. Stop the annoying music, for instance. That's just an example.
Please tell me what is the music?
It's a playlist on Spotify. I'll share the playlist before I stop. Anyway, stop. What I should start doing, maybe you see some other instructions doing something that you find that, hey, maybe you should do that here as well. And what I should continue doing. What is it working that you think that I should still keep going doing those things, okay? So again, a chance, give it 4 minutes before we open the quiz. The quiz will be open exactly at noon, and you have 20 minutes. You have from noon until 12:20 to get the quiz done. Quiz number 2 will be available under assessments quiz. And again, it will be open exactly at 12 p.m. If you don't have a chance to do this right away, you can do it later. But again, try to do it right now because I will then have a look and assess that. So again, go for it. The link is on Padlet under stop, start, and continue.